G.I Joe, they are the real American heroes, but what are the 100 greatest action figures to come from the Hasbro Classifieds line? Well, I'm David, you're watching Displaying Model Behavior, the EMVP of YouTube, Earth's maddiest video podcast. And this is the top 100 greatest G.I Joe classified figures. The Hydroviper, an elite physiologically altered amphibious commando for Cobra. Created by Dr. Mindbender, these troops are recruited from qualified Cobra eels and surgically modified to breathe both air and water without suffering the physical trauma of deep-sea diving. The Hydroviper. This one is super fun. And again, it fits into the unusual type of aesthetic that I actually do dig because it's kind of a monstrous character, but it's just genetic engineering and a little bit of science gone wrong, gene splicing type stuff. That I got all the time in the world for. But then he's also got on top of his just kind of mutant type eyes, which you can't see very clearly. I like it. There's a bit of mystery to him. But then he does wear the huge big monstrous helmet as well, which is something I personally love about Cobra. There's no tactical reason for some of these ridiculous costumes they wear. They just wear them because they're awesome and they're badass. And that's good enough for me. If I saw a scary SAS scuba diver swimming towards me, you know what? I'm a Joe. I'm a deal with it. I see a dude wearing this swimming towards me. First of all, I'd say, dude, that is a badass costume. And then I'd try and swim very fast in the other direction because he would look terrifying. Prophet Director Destro. The Prophet Director, originally nicknamed Pimp Daddy Destro by fans, began as a joking concept by artist Steve Masso that Hasbro officially adapted into an exclusive action figure release. Prophet Director Destro. Now, when I was putting this list together, I consulted the Model Behavior channel members, and the outcry was so clear. If you don't have Prophet Director Destro, then the list is invalid. Well, don't worry, lads. We got him. And he's pretty high on the list as well, because of course he is. Even in the Google description of this character, it says he is officially known as Pimp Daddy Destro, at least amongst the audience. And I kinda love that. With the ridiculous leopard print cape, the burning money accessory, which is so much fun and you can use with all different characters as well. This is just a little joy of an action figure. Totally stupid, but also really great as well, and just shows what a fun character Destro is. I was trying to limit myself to one version of any character max, but for Destro, he gets a couple, because you know what? They're all so much fun. It's time now to take a quick pause for the cause and tell you guys about this channel's sponsor, me, because I don't have a sponsor. It's a one-man band over here. So with that being the case, if you enjoyed this video, a thumbs up would really help me out. Or if you wanted to get a channel membership, then you can do. That would help support the show, and also you get to take part in the channel member live streams where we put together videos just like this. You think I came up with these 100 entries myself? Nah! This whole channel is a team project, and I'm very happy to have you all on board. Also, if you want to check out the Model Behavior Facebook group, that's where we have all of the discussions and put these episodes together, and you get to be a part of what is quite possibly the coolest community on the internet. I don't know if I can prove that factually, but I got a good feeling about it. So gang, however you want to support the show, I'm hugely grateful. And now, back to the list. The Fatal Fluffies. Genetically engineered beasts from the Cobra arsenal, appearing as cute, cuddly, and innocent creatures, they transform into towering, horned, Minotaur-like slave drivers when triggered by a special silent whistle. They first appeared in the iconic 1980s miniseries, The Pyramid of Darkness. The Fatal Fluffies. Now this is going to be a real divisive entry, and I understand. Also, I normally only go for figures that have actually hit store shelves, but since this is the first top 100 G.I Joe video I've ever done, I'm going to be a little bit loosey-goosey, but this is the cutoff point. And for a lot of people, This is their cutoff point as well when it comes to what they want in their G.I. Joe collection. Something I really dig about G.I. Joe is it goes from super kind of realistic, gritty, military-style characters to full-on goofy Saturday morning cartoon alien monsters. And you can kind of pick and choose whatever you want for your display. I've seen a whole bunch of G.I. Joe collections that are full-on just military dudes, and that's fine if that's what you like. Me, I like to get a little bit wacky sometimes, but even in this case, the Fluffies might be a bridge too far. Don't mind genetically altered mutant people, don't mind cyborgs, but goofy Saturday morning cartoon monsters, yeah, that's going a little bit too far. But I cannot say that these are not beautifully put together action figures with everything that you're going to get in this set when it drops, from the tiny little cute Mogwai little Fluffy to the big monstrous one, and then all the other additions in between with the weapons and the accessories. Whether you like the Fluffies or you loathe them, you can't say it's not a really fun action figure set. Sundown. Alejandro Balam Luna Mendoza is an environmental specialist and bounty hunter who allied with G.I. Joe to track down the drug kingpin Headman. He is on a ruthless personal quest across Mexico to take down the lords of the underworld and find his kidnapped twin brother, Salvador. Sundown. What can I say? I'm a sucker for a cowboy, and this is a really fun-looking cowboy. Normally, when it comes to G.I. Joe characters, if they look too normal, I kind of lose interest a little bit. But they've gone for a really nice aesthetic with this, where they're marrying modern clothing with the old Wild West sort of accoutrements. So he's got the shawl and the bandoliers and the gun belts, and all putting it together, it just makes an overall really good-looking package. So yeah, I got a lot of time for Sundown. The Techno Viper. Cobra's elite combat engineer and field maintenance specialist in the G.I. Joe franchise. They are tasked with repairing damaged machinery, operating heavy siege equipment, and building fortresses under heavy fire on the front line. Techno Viper's a really fun one just because of the name. Techno Viper. Of course, it does relate to technology and repairs and all that kind of stuff, but who doesn't hear that and just think that he's waving glow sticks and clubbing his way through the night? I, for one, like to believe that that's the case. He looks really fun. He's bright purple, and that's one of my favorite colors. So, of course, I got time for Techno Viper. But again, with the Cobra aesthetic, any of their uniforms look wicked. And of course, they're all army buildable as well. So there's a lot going for this guy. Not the most flashy and flamboyant Cobra character, but still a really fun-looking trooper. Zanya, the hardened, street-forged daughter of Zartan and heir apparent to the Dreadnought biker gang. First introduced in the comic book continuity, she is tough, fiercely independent, and known for her close-quarters combat skills. Her character arc often revolves around stepping out of her father's shadow and proving herself as a capable gang leader. Zanya. I got a little spoiler for the rest of this list. If you're a Dreadnought, you're going to be on here. Sometimes more than once. But Zanya, really fun looking character, especially because she's a female bad guy. Or aka a bad girl. And they're not that common, but we do have some good ones. Having said that, also, 2 spoilers for this entry. Baroness, classic bad girl, but I don't think she appears on this list, because even though she's awesome, I don't think there's any characters or figures for Baroness that really stand out as one of the best. So with that in mind, Hasbro, you know what you gotta do. In the meantime though, Zanya coming with her vehicle as well, that's a great 1980s toy type combo. Character and vehicle, just the way it should be. Great addition to the Dreadnoughts, and there's a whole lot more still to come. Dawn Moreno, Snake Eyes. Springfield High School student Dawn Moreno caught the attention of Cobra Commander after successfully beating the entire lacrosse team by herself. Quickly proving herself invaluable, Cobra Commander made her his apprentice. Under the tutelage of Baroness, Dawn was strapped into the brainwave scanner and mistakenly implanted with the stored memories of Snake Eyes. Dawn Moreno Snake Eyes. I love a bad girl gone good. And that's what this character is. Brainwashed into having the memories of Snake Eyes. I was going to say brainwashed into thinking she was Snake Eyes. No, that wasn't the case. But she got all of his combat training and experience kind of downloaded into her while already being a badass super athlete. So starting out with Cobra and then going over to the Joes, nice little character arc right there. And even though this is a relatively basic kind of figure, I think they just did a lovely job with it. It's as simple as that. She doesn't have a gimmick, she doesn't have an animal or a vehicle, but just a badass, not going to retake that, just as a badass Snake Eyes ninja lady. Yeah, she's definitely making the top 100. Big Lob, a former basketball star who joined the G.I Joe team as a reservist. Known for his exceptional throwing accuracy and sports commentator jargon, he is best remembered as a member of the Rawhide Squad in G.I Joe the movie. Bradley Big Lob Sanders. I know that this one is really popular because when he was announced, I got a whole bunch of feedback on the channel of people going, yes, we got Big Lob. And not only that, Hasbro did a real nice job with him as well. First of all, they did him properly. They gave him the proportions of a super tall basketball player. It would have been real cheeky if they tried to reuse a body for this guy whose whole gimmick is that he's like 7 foot tall. So they did an excellent job doing something bespoke just for this guy. I really love that. Then with the basketball accessory, so he's like palming the basketball and the sports top. I dig it. I really dig it. He's an army dude, but he's a more interesting army dude. There's a lot of characters that Hasbro have made that are really well done, but they're just super realistic army people. That, for me, doesn't do anything for me, so they don't make the list, in case you're wondering. But this guy, he just walks that fine line. Is he an army dude? Yes. But could he also be a Saturday morning cartoon character? Also yes. The Divers. The G.I. Joe diver is a highly trained aquatic specialist within the Joe team. The diver's core mission is to infiltrate hostile waters, sabotage Cobra's underwater operations, and rescue teammates. This contrasts with the Cobra diver, who are grunts outfitted by Cobra Commander to recover vital intelligence or resources from under the seas. A couple of rare generic type characters, but when your generic character is as good as these two, I'm gonna let you get away with being a little bit generic. I know I said that I don't really like the generic army guys, because just army guys. No disrespect to army guys. I'm just saying I don't want your action figures on my shelf when I could have some crazy monsters. But the divers, it's just the amount of stuff that they cram into these that make it so appreciable. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. I like the fact that you get the Cobra and the Joe both together, so you can army build both teams evenly. The only thing that I'm not so keen on with the divers or aquatic characters in general is that they do look a little bit out of place if you're putting them in a big group display, because you're going to have all these ground troops and then a dude in a wetsuit with flippers, and you can just imagine like Sergeant Slaughter being next to him like, are you sure you dressed for the right occasion? You know what I mean. It looks a little funny. If you don't have a fish tank, though, that's what you do. That's what you want. You want to get these guys, put them in the fish tank. Hopefully the plastic's non-toxic. Otherwise, you're going to have some very upset fish. But that's what I would want to do. Put them in a context-specific environment. Then they're going to look amazing. The Cobra Night Viper, an elite stealth-focused tactical infantry trooper for the Cobra organization. Often serving as shock troopers, they are specially trained in stealth, infrared technology, and night combat to ambush G.I. Joe operatives. So, the Night Viper. This is what makes it real clear that when it comes to the troops, it's Cobra that are going to have the upper hand as far as aesthetics are concerned. G.I. Joe, I mean, the clue is kind of in the name. The GIs, they're kind of, regular army dudes, some of which have some fun gimmicks. Whereas with Cobra, it's just going all out with the aesthetics. And the Night Viper, yeah, They got the aesthetics. These guys look so wicked. It's just tactical gear, but then Cobrafied, which means made colorful and fun and just something that's going to look so wicked on your shelves. So the Night Viper's like any other Cobra Trooper. You can't get just one. You gotta buy a whole bunch. No one's forcing you to, but you want to. Why? Because they look so damn cool. Deep Six, G.I. Joe's resident deep-sea diver. Known as a solitary individualist who prefers the quiet depths of the ocean to his teammates, he is an expert in underwater demolition and reconnaissance, often piloting the Shark, submersible high-speed attack and reconnaissance craft. Deep Six. He hasn't hit store shelves yet, but I do want to include him because you can see from the pictures, from the write-ups, the synopsis, and the previews, he's gonna be a big chunky boy. And that's something I always have time for. Plus, he comes with this freakish corpse-type face as well, which is just a little bit of nightmare fuel. It's kind of like the classic images you always see of a skeleton in an astronaut helmet. It's like, I don't know what series of events led to this, but they were probably haunting. Same goes for Deep Six, although this guy, I'm sure he's having a whale of a time, even if he's known for being a bit of a reclusive type of person. Honestly, I can kind of understand that. You put me in with a whole bunch of G.I. Joes, I'll be like, yo, just give me the deep sea stuff. I'm going to go down. I'm going to just chill out. You guys sort this out amongst yourselves. But he looks like he's going to be a big, chunky, fun figure. So for that, even though he's not released yet, he does make the list. Agent Helix, an alpha-level covert operations officer for the G.I. Joe team, who operates as the Joe's ultimate secret weapon. She is an Olympic-class gymnast and combat savant who processes the world through data sets, granting her near-perfect organic battlefield awareness. Now, this is a figure that's kind of basic, but kind of nice. It doesn't do a lot, but what it does, I think it does really well. Can always be a little bit tricky when doing the female faces. Marvel Legends have shown me many a time that very often they just look like blank expression shop store mannequins. But then along came the Classifieds line, and the Hasbro G.I. Joe team were like, oh, don't worry, we'll show you how it's done. And guess what? They did. And their female characters, I think, look terrific. And Agent Helix, just this badass ninja kind of look to her, but with brighter popping colors. I really, really love that. A great example of a badass looking female fighter. Scarlett. Shana M. O'Hara, a founding member and primary counterintelligence officer for the G.I. Joe team. Famous for her signature high-tech crossbow and lethal martial arts skills, she acts as a brilliant tactician. She shares a deep bond with the silent ninja Snake Eyes. Now, I was really torn when making this list about including some of the classic Joes, because you would think, oh, you gotta have Duke, you gotta have Flint and Roadblock, but the thing is, do any of them have figures that are really extra special? Because this isn't a list of the most important G.I. Joe characters. This is my favorite action figures, what I think are the 100 coolest. And some of the big A-list characters just don't have those cool figures. But Scarlett, I kind of like, mainly because this retro version does what it says on the tin. It is the retro costume that she's in, but they still do it in a way that makes it feel kind of contemporary. And I really like that. There's no big gimmick to the character, but just a basic representation of a classic character done in a modern style. For that, I've got a lot of love for it. Monkey Wrench. A destructive explosives expert and key member of the mercenary Dreadnought gang in the G.I. Joe universe. Operating under Cobra Commander Zartan, he is a mechanical genius known for engineering devices capable of both minor sabotage and massive catastrophic destruction. Don't wanna be your monkey wrench. You know I was gonna go straight into that. Yes, Monkey Wrench. Not actually one of the most exciting Dreadnoks, but that's the great thing about Dreadnoks. They're like pizza. Even when it's average, they're still pretty wicked. Because even if you take him out of the G.I. Joe context, you just have this badass, awesome looking street thug. And that's what I love about so many of the aesthetics of the Dreadnoks, is that they just look like generic street hooligans that you could have fighting Spider-Man or Daredevil or any other urban type vigilante. So even though, of course, he's a big-time G.I. Joe character, you could throw him in anywhere. He's a versatile bad guy. And for that, he ranks pretty highly on the list. The Legacy Collection Police Officer. This, I think it was the police officer that was the first one, wasn't it, of the Legacy Collection. This kickstarted something really cool for G.I. Joe Classified, which is this real-world hero kind of line of figures. We got the policeman, we got the fireman, and coming out soon we got mountain rescue as well. I don't think we've had an ambulance tech, though. That's one that I would still like to see as a paramedic figure. But this policeman, very, very nice. I mean, as far as army building goes, they give you so many accessories, predominantly the two very distinctive heads. That's great, but then looking down at what else you get with the mask, the helmet as well, you could get a whole squad of these guys and still have them looking unique and distinct. One thing for me, aesthetically, they've done a really great job of going for a very kind of urban, tactical, kind of like SWAT looking police officer. I prefer a beat cop. Hopefully we'll get one of those one of these days, because, you know, I want just like the button shirt and the hat, very kind of classic Marvel Universe, like Spider-Man sort of aesthetic. This is much more in keeping with that kind of militarized police kind of look. But you know what? It's pretty freaking awesome. Lieutenant Vincent R. Falcone and Quarrel. Lieutenant Vincent R. Falcone, an elite Green Beret and reckless G.I. Joe recruit who must redeem himself after his negligence allows Cobra to free their leader, Serpentor. He's best known for his central role in the 1987 animated G.I. Joe movie. As for Quarrel, in G.I. Joe lore, she is the daughter of a Swiss diplomat who rebelled against her sheltered upbringing. After excelling in martial arts and motorcycle racing, she joined the SAF, Special Action Force, as an undercover ops expert and daredevil vehicle driver. Falcon and Quarrel in this 2-pack here, this is kind of like borderline for me when it comes to just normal looking army people. I know anyone who knows anything about army fatigues and uniforms and stuff are like, Dave, that's nothing like a normal army uniform, but you know what I mean. It's not too fantastical, but it's just tweaked enough to make it kind of fun. And having these two together in a 2-pack, I think it makes a really nice set. It's not crazy sci-fi, but it's not stringently realistic military either. It's that fine line that G.I. Joe Classifieds walk really well. And I think this 2-pack is one of the best examples. Big Boa, the Cobra organization's brutal physical trainer and primary rival to the G.I. Joe team. Originally designed as an intended Cobra rival for a cancelled Sylvester Stallone Rocky Balboa action figure, he evolved into a ruthless taskmaster who whips unruly Cobra troops into shape through extreme, torturous training regiments. Big Boa. What a fun one this is. The dude with the boxing gloves and the mask, like all of it is such an 80s toy brought to life. Brought to toy life, which toys already are brought to toy life. I scrap that analogy. He's great. And one who has a real gimmick as well. Boxer Man. I love the fact that they're going to be like, okay, we're going into battle against the G.I. Joes. They have some heavy artillery, guns, tanks, bazookas. All right, let me put my boxing gloves on. It's go time. But that's half the fun. Then with the ridiculous big old helmet as well, so toyetic in that 80s kind of sense. But then giving him the human face underneath that they've put such character into as well. The busted up, you know, missing teeth, and just something that sings to me in a fun, ridiculous way with the weights, the dumbbells as well. He's just kind of joyous. Now, the more I think about it, the more I think I really, really do need to just start collecting the Dreadnoks, because each one of them, so much fun. Big Boa in particular is the standout. Heavy Duty. Lamont Morris is G.I. Joe's primary heavy weapons ordnance expert. A gentle giant known for his massive stature, love for explosives, and culinary skills, he serves as the team's muscle and weapons specialist across multiple continuities. Heavy Duty. You know what I really love about this figure so much? he totally looks like one of the Kenner colonial marine type characters from the Aliens line. And that is another toy franchise that I think I need to cover more on this channel, and something I'd love to see a modern version of. But you know what? We're not talking about that. We're talking about G.I. Joe. And this is terrific. I love that it's a very realistic looking human being, but then you give him the larger than life, over the top weaponry that actually isn't too sci-fi ridiculous. It's not a real life practical thing, is it? But it still looks like it would fit in a real kind of context. I think the smooshing together of these styles works so well. And then you've got the different head sculpts as well, the nice accessories that really do bring this character to life. A little bit of a sleeper hit, I feel, in the G.I. Joe line, and one that I would really love to add to my collection if I was collecting them. But I can't afford to, because I would become addicted very, very quickly. Tunnel Rat, the G.I. Joe team's resident explosive ordnance disposal expert. First introduced in 1987, the character, whose real name is Nikki Lee, is a Brooklyn native of Trinidad and Chinese descent, known for his ability to comfortably infiltrate dark, cramped enemy underground systems. Speaking of characters who look like colonial marines, we got Tunnel Rat, who's based very much off that real army kind of Vietnam sort of aesthetic, which of course is the point, and it works. And they did a wonderful, wonderful job with it. So this really cool, kind of a basic soldier looking action figure, but he's got so much character going on with him that he really does stand alone as his own unique creation. And for that, he easily makes the list, even though he doesn't have any kind of crazy over-the-top gimmick. Sometimes I appreciate the more simple approach. The Night Creepers, a ruthless high-tech mercenary ninja syndicate contracted by the criminal organization Cobra. Functioning as corporate ninjas rather than a traditional clan, they're responsible for Cobra's covert infiltration, espionage, and assassination missions. Night Creeper. This one, okay, focus, Dave. This one has a nice little combination of sort of military, urban, tactical gear with a little bit of samurai ninja going on as well. And totally, this is, of all the characters, this one has one of the biggest bangs of 90s side-scrolling beat-em-up type character. Getting a big Streets of Rage kind of vibe from this guy, where it's a fantastical kind of villain, but that's got old-fashioned historical aspects to their costume. Smoosh those things together, and it makes for a really fun gimmick for a character. And this Night Creeper over here, yeah, super fun. Raptor. Chip Talon, a bizarre and notoriously eccentric member of Cobra. Originally an affluent tax consultant, he developed a severe obsession with falconry, eventually breeding giant birds of prey. After being caught poaching on a Cobra-owned ranch, he was brought into the fold to develop avian weapons designed specifically to hunt the G.I. Joe team. Raptor. This dude was one that I wasn't familiar with until we got the action figure, which is why I love covering G.I. Joes. Like I said before, I get to learn about so many new characters and more lore and all this kind of thing. So here we go, a great flying flight suit type of guy, a G.I. Joe Cobra version of the Vulture, although kind of got a bit of a modern Vulture MCU kind of take to it. Basically, bottom line, I dig it. I really, really do. And like so many great classifieds figures, all the stuff, all the armor, all the weapons and gadgets, you can strip them right off and just have the basic character and then layer them on however you want. So much versatility in that. Absolutely terrific. I'm a big fan of this dude. Torch. Tom Winken is a chaotic Australian-born member of the Dreadnoks in the G.I. Joe universe. Known as an illiterate and unrepentant thug, he is infamous for sudden violence and uses modified cutting torch to crack safes and dismantle stolen cars. Torch making his second appearance on the list because, of course, all the Dreadnoks who were in Cold Slither, they pull double duty in this top 100. But Torch, as a basic character, he's not like that exciting. He gets all the points for being a good street thug looking guy. That in itself is great. You could have Spider-Man beating him up in an alley, no problem. But then you've got the blowtorch gimmick. And what I really love is the skull with the fire. That's so much fun. That's where you take a character with a weapon and turn it into into like a WWF 90s gimmick of a bad guy. That's so much fun. So all of this together makes him one of the stronger Dreadnought characters. The Steel Corps and Twilight Guard 2-pack. The Steel Corps are the spiritual successors to the Steel Brigade. They are serving as the frontline Guardian Troopers and a recruiting farm team for future specialized members. They launch into battle and hold the line against Cobra's forces. On the opposing side, the Twilight Guard is a specialized elite faction within the Cobra organization, serving as devout protectors of the enigmatic Order of the Serpent's Eye. Introduced as part of the G.I. Joe Classified series, they are highly skilled, agile operatives utilized for high-stakes protection and to guard Cobra's darkest secrets. With the Steel Corps Commander and the Twilight Guard, we get a couple of things that I really love about G.I. Joe Classifieds. First of all, I like my good guy, bad guy box sets. We got Joe, we got Cobra. That's awesome. But then we actually get the structure of the military forces, I guess, because we've got the Steel Corps Battalion. That's awesome. But now we actually have the Commander. So you can start to build displays within displays. That I really love. And also is another reason why I don't collect Joes, because it just never ends. Because you can't have a commander without a fleet of people to command. Otherwise, like, come on, what are you, the most important person out of 3? No, you need at least 4, 5, or 6 Steel Corps Battalion people to go with the commander. At least that's the way my brain works, which means I need to keep these guys at a safe distance. Otherwise, they'd be leading me to the poorhouse. But then again, I'd be in the poorhouse with a whole bunch of awesome-looking G.I. Joes. So ultimately, who would be the real winner? The Cobra Saw Viper, a specialized heavy machine gunner and elite infantry trooper in the Cobra Army. Feared for their devastating firepower, they serve as the ultimate suppression unit, capable of pinpointing targets from hundreds of yards away. The Saw Viper. I love a big, heavy thug goon. And that's what this guy is. This is the guy who kind of steps out from the crowd after the hero has beaten up some of the generic bad guys. And they're like, oh yeah, I could do this all day. And then this dude sort of wanders in, giving it all that. And it's like, okay, now we got to go to work. This is the lore that I put onto the figures when I look at them. So yeah, there's not much sort of exciting, I don't feel, kind of going on as far as gimmicks are concerned. I think he's kind of basic, but it's just the size and the heft of the figure that makes him really fun. One of those characters in a beat-em-up game would have 2 life bars that you're going to have to whittle down, because this dude, he can take a wallop. Xandar, a master of camouflage, covert movement, and disguise. As the brother of Zartan and twin brother of Zorana, he serves as a professional assassin and mercenary for the Cobra organization, specializing in silent weapons and perfectly blending into crowds unnoticed. One of the more fun Dreadnoks is Xandar, because he's a bit brighter. He's got the face paint, he's got the shocker red hair like the fires of hell, and he just looks like he's walked out of a Mad Max post-apocalyptic urban nightmare kind of place, and it's a place where he would have felt right at home. The Dreadnoks just win me over every time I see them. I'm all for smart, regimented military people, but then just bring in some 80s punk rocker street crazies. That's more my speed. And it also makes me really wish and my kingdom for a Hasbro classified style, not G.I. Joe, I'm talking about G.I. Joe, Streets of Rage. Could you imagine getting a Streets of Rage set of figures done in a G.I. Joe style? Be still my heart. I don't think that would ever happen, but you know what? It'd be pretty cool if it did. You know, every time I see the box for this version of Covergirl, I keep thinking it's Squirrel Girl, because she has that brown and tan kind of aesthetic with the red hair too. You can understand why Dave gets a little bit confused. But no squirrels here, but a great Covergirl figure. Released back in that short, dark period when Hasbro were like, yeah, people don't need to see our action figures. We can just put them in plain cardboard boxes. No. That was doomed to failure, lads. But hey, I know that was an order from above. Having spoken to people at Hasbro, they were like, yeah, we knew that was going to be a hard sell. Hey, luckily, we're back to the good old days of polluting the world with plastic, which I'm actually okay with because it makes the boxes look better. But hey, what was inside this boring box was a really nice Covergirl figure. So for that, I'm willing to allow some plastic. Just, recycle, kids. That's the model behavior G.I. Joe message for the end of this. Hey, don't go throwing away that plastic. Put it into recycling. Then you can be a hero too. Why is he moving like a mannequin? That's not how they go. Let's move on to the next one. Storm Shadow, a master ninja and prominent character in the G.I. Joe universe. He is best known as a high-ranking assassin for the Cobra organization and for his deeply complex, intertwined history and blood brother rivalry with the G.I. Joe commando Snake Eyes. Possibly the coolest bad guy of all of Cobra, we got Storm Shadow. I love a bad guy with a moral code. And that's exactly what Storm Shadow is. And this particular version, of course, we've had several. This is my favorite. This is peak, iconic, perfect, classic Storm Shadow. Just like Wolverine and Sabretooth, we got Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. I couldn't remember the name Snake Eyes for some reason there. But yeah, great good guy, bad guy, head-to-head combinations. And this Storm Shadow, again, with the removable weapons, the bow and arrow, the quiver, the swords. Such a labor of love that went into making what could have been a kind of boring figure because he's just all white. But they made that and made it interesting too. That in itself was a big accomplishment, and Hasbro absolutely nailed it. The Cobra Flight Pod. Affectionately nicknamed the Trouble Bubble by the G.I. Joe team, this is a one-man jet-propelled air vehicle used by the Cobra organization. It is widely recognized for its clear dome canopy and frequent appearances in the animated series and films. Here it is, the Viper Trouble Bubble. Whatever you want to call it, it's one of the most fun accessories in the entire Classifieds line. Like I've said before, Cobra, they have the most fun toys, and the Trouble Bubble, it's got so much character in its little dome and just a one-man flight pod. Of course, I'll always remember them from the opening of the animated movie from the 80s. And the fact that we've got so many different versions of them now goes to show how popular they are. Of course, for me, I'm always going to go for the brighter, more colorful iteration. But even the classic Cobra grayscale Trouble Bubble still looks really cool. But then when you tart it up with the brighter, more vibrant paint job, that's so much fun. And once again, you fall into the trap of going, well, that's great, but I can never have just one. Vipra, a deadly mercenary and intelligence courier for the Cobra organization. She secured her position after audaciously sneaking into Cobra Commander's private business meeting and extensive enterprises. Impressed by her boldness and need for trustworthy agents, he hired her on the spot. Just like Shadow Tracker, Vipra is one of those characters who I didn't know about until I saw the action figure and thought, I gotta learn about this one. Because it's too cool to be beneath my radar. And yeah, just this wicked, awesome skull mask. And again, going for kind of a predator aesthetic, but now it's a lady jungle hunter type character. So awesome. And kind of it makes me think like, man, this is where I want to do comic book display crossovers. I want her and Shadow Tracker to be flanking Kraven the Hunter. But the problem is we don't have a good Kraven the Hunter figure. Yeah, come at me, Kraven the Hunter Marvel Legends fans. I still think we need a definitive version. Whereas G.I. Joe, they have done, that's the thing, Classifieds, you could argue they do the definitive version first time out. Then again, we do have like 10 different Cobra Commander figures, but you know what I'm saying. Shadow Tracker and Vipra, both of those absolutely fantastic. And Vipra in particular, she's got a big part of my heart. The Snow Serpents, elite cold-weather Arctic infantry. Operating as an offshoot of the Cobra Eels, these are formidable frontline troops trained in extreme sub-zero survival, airborne operations, and tactical guerrilla warfare, capable of vanishing into snowdrifts to ambush G.I. Joe forces. The Snow Serpent, just like Snowjob, one of those characters who would look kind of silly next to regularly attired Joes, but also you can't sort of fault it because you have a whole bunch of potential Snow characters that you could put him with if you want to. That's the wonderful thing about this display. You've got displays for every part of the world. And this dude with the wolf pelt, that looks so badass. And I'm going to assume that wolf died of natural causes. All right, so I'm not going to feel bad about having him on my shelf. But everything else he comes with as well, just a really fun, badass Winter Wonderland kind of character. Sergeant Slaughter, the G.I. Joe team's elite special drill instructor and survival trainer. Voiced by real-life professional wrestler Robert Bob Remus, he was introduced to whip misfit and rookie recruits into shape, frequently leading special missions and battles against the Cobra terrorist organization.
All right, you maggots, listen up. You're gonna go home in a bag, an itty-bitty diddy bag.
Love Sergeant Slaughter. Who cares about stolen valor? The guy's a legend. And it still chaps my ass that they didn't have him, like the actual man, Sergeant Slaughter, in the G.I. Joe movie for just like a cameo. You could have just seen him walking through the background or something. It's like he is literally a real life G.I. Joe. Like you're never going to have the chance to do that again. I can't believe they made 2 G.I. Joe movies with a perfectly healthy, living Sergeant Slaughter, who to this day, bizarrely, still looks like Sarge. I mean, I guess the chin doesn't age. What I'm saying is, he's a G.I. Joe classic, and the original Sergeant Slaughter figure they did, absolutely fantastic. We've got a couple of other versions as well, but really, this one right here, I dare say they nailed it. Snowjob, G.I. Joe's premier Arctic trooper and expert sniper. A former Olympic biathlete, he initially enlisted for military training privileges. Known for his fiery orange beard, survivalist skills, and con artist personality, he provides essential cold weather support in the frozen wastelands. Snowjob, a character with a bit of a funny name, but also kind of punnish as well, so I'll allow it. Also, it's not my job to name G.I. Joe characters. It's my job to talk about them, and I do like what Hasbro did with this guy, giving him all the winter weather gear you could ever need. My only problem with him is the same one that I have with the divers, in that when you have them all together on the shelf, he looks a bit out of place. Like you'd have the other Joes next to him being like, dude, are you not a bit hot? It's 30 degrees outside. He's like, nope, I'm Snowjob. This is the gimmick. But it's a good looking gimmick. And hey, it's not like we don't have other wintry characters to put him with. We've got a freaking polar bear after all. Then you could throw in some of the winter white bats as well. That's the amazing thing with G.I. Joe Classified. Even with the characters who only should be appearing in very specific settings, you could still build an entire display for them. That in itself is kind of amazing. Ripper. Born Harry Nod in Grim Cape, Tasmania, an original member of the Dreadnoks, the ruthless motorcycle-riding mercenary gang led by Zartan in the G.I. Joe universe. He is a professional criminal driven by greed and a profound hatred for civilization. You Ripper! Gotta love this guy. Just like all the Dreadnoks, he has so much character, so much personality. I don't want to say too much about him that I would just be repeating myself with the other Dreadnoks, but it's just super fun. Got the huge big Jaws of Life weapon as well. Throw him in with all the other guys. You have the ultimate post-apocalyptic wasteland set of badass bruisers. Heck, I don't need to talk about him very much because just seeing him on screen, it's enough to tell you why I've ranked him so highly. Bazooka. David L. Katzenbogen is the G.I. Joe team's dedicated missile specialist. Known for his signature bright red sports jersey, quiet demeanor, and inseparable bond with the chatterbox mountain trooper Alpine, he is a gentle giant who relies on heavy anti-armor weaponry and brief, deliberate phrases. Talk about an oldie but a goodie, Bazooka. I still remember this one from the 80s, from the old O-ring action figures. And we got a beautiful new modern rendition of him, looking so much like MMA fighter Don Fry. Gotta love that. At first I was like, bit of a Mike Hagar kind of look? No, not big enough. Don Fry, boom, nailed it. It's the old soup strainer that just sets off the character, and I love that. With the American football jersey as well, kind of like Big Lob. I love that we have a very military man, but then one who has his own gimmick kind of thrown in on top as well to give him that character and personality. So much love for Bazooka. Buzzer. Real name Dick Blinken, is the chainsaw-wielding blonde ponytailed member of the Dreadnoks, a former radical Cambridge sociology professor turned extreme biker. He abandoned intellectual society out of frustration, dedicating himself to destruction and scavenger work for Cobra. There's just something cool and terrifying about a dude wielding a chainsaw. I can't think of any good guy chainsaw wielders. There's something about just the sound of the engine and just the revving and like, whoa, it's very, I think, well, hey, look, we've all seen the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And if you haven't, well, you know, maybe you should. That's a tough one to recommend. You got to be a horror fan. But yeah, as soon as a bad guy's wielding a chainsaw, it's like, okay, you got some extra points. That's super fun. Then again, Doom Guy. That's a good guy who wields a chainsaw. But once again, I wouldn't want to mess with him. But just like all the Dreadnoks, this one's super fun. No official military garb, just a cool, whacked out punk rock bad guy. So you gotta love that. The Python Crimson Guard, a highly specialized variant of the elite Cobra Shock Troopers, introduced in 1989 as part of Cobra's stealth Python patrol unit. These troops trade their traditional crimson uniforms for a distinctive yellow and red camouflage. The Crimson Guard are already super cool and awesome. Give them a Python Patrol paint job and you got a super cool and awesome figure that now is even brighter and just more fun to have. So I won't even wax lyrical for too long. The answer is right there in front of you. It's a wicked looking bad guy with an awesome paint job. Shockwave. Jason Farrier is the G.I Joe team's elite SWAT specialist and urban assault expert. A former Detroit Police Department SWAT officer, he was recruited for his exceptional door-kicking skills and bravery under fire. He is best known for being the first to breach and clear hostile environments. Now, Shockwave is an interesting one because even though this is a unique character, you could totally army build these, especially if you wanted to put them with your policeman characters. Because, yeah, he's a character in and of himself, but also he just looks like a generic riot cop, really, or a, urban response military type character. I could just imagine throwing a bunch of these into a Marvel Legends display, having the Rhino charging through them. You could do a lot with this guy. So even though, yes, you can have him as his standalone G.I Joe character, I would just want to get a whole bunch and do some crazy displays with huge big bruiser bad guys just battling his way through them. That'd be a whole lot of fun to do. Nunchuk. Ralph Baducci is the primary martial arts instructor for the elite G.I. Joe Ninja Force. Hailing from Brooklyn, he mastered the nunchaku and mystic combat under a mysterious blind master, eventually catching the eyes of Storm Shadow, who recruited him into the team. Nunchaku, not too crazy of a character, no over-the-top gimmicks, but just a fun, badass one. I feel like I've got a bit of nostalgia for this because for whatever reason, certain things stick in my mind. And from my childhood, I remember Nunchaku. I think I always loved martial arts type characters. So a dude literally named after the coolest martial arts, I'm not going to edit that. The coolest martial arts weapon out there? Yeah. Nunchaku makes the list just for that. But also, you know what? He's a pretty good action figure too. Copperhead, a skilled Cobra mercenary and eco-terrorist, primarily known for the designated pilot of the Cobra Water Moccasin Swamp Cruiser. Driven by massive gambling debts and a love for danger, he operates out of the Florida Everglades and Cobra Island to secure nautical perimeters and lead dangerous sabotage missions. Now, I was a little bit torn with Copperhead because he's one of those great characters who has a Python Patrol version as well. So I gotta go Python Patrol because it's always going to be a bit brighter and a bit more interesting. The OG Copperhead, is great. He really is. I just love the style of his costume. I'm not really too sure like what's going on with it. It's just it's his own thing. And that alone makes it fun. But then taking that and giving it the brighter, yellowy kind of paint job, that just makes him stand out more and look more vibrant on the shelf. So both versions are great. But normally when you stack up one with the other, it's always going to be Python Patrol that wins. Shipwreck. Hector Delgado, a tough-talking, laid-back Navy SEAL and Navy operations specialist of the G.I. Joe team. Famous for his signature pet parrot, Polly, he debuted in the animated series and Marvel Comics of the mid-1980s, bringing a distinct nautical swagger and iconic pop culture-inspired voice to the team. Now, Shipwreck, I feel, is one of the slightly, dare I say, sillier looking G.I. Joe characters. Don't come at me, Shipwreck fans. I'm not knocking him. It's just a bit of a Village People kind of look. You know what I mean? But that is a big old school crowd pleasing favorite. A lot of people have got a lot of nostalgic love for Shipwreck, probably including the people who made him, because they did go all in on making him a really nice figure. The fact that he comes with a parrot means that he's kind of classified, no pun intended, as one of the animal type characters. Even though the parrot is just a small accessory, I'll allow it. So because of that, he gets some special consideration. But even without his birdie, he's a very nice looking member of the Joe team. Chuckles, also known as Philip M. Provost, is G.I. Joe's resident undercover agent. Famous for his signature floral Hawaiian shirts and easygoing charisma, he excels at infiltrating criminal cartels. While his friendly demeanor is his greatest cover, his actual allegiances and true personality remain shrouded in mystery. His lore and various storylines vary based on whether you're following the animated series or the comic books. What was, I do believe, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, Chuckles over here brings such a different look to the G.I. Joes. You've got this entire regimented, badass military outfit, and then you got Chuckles, who, with the name being a bit of a giveaway, is just a completely different approach to battling the forces of evil. And I really love it because it's got so much personality in the action figure. That's one thing that Hasbro in general, whether it's Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe, their face sculpts are so good with the paintwork as well, just brings them to life. Chuckles has so much personality, and in the entire box set that they put together for him, they really do the character justice. It's a real fun one, which was a little bit harder to get, being a Comic-Con exclusive, I do believe. But then again, I have seen it on various store shelves throughout the years. So I guess the aftermarket has been quite kind to people. He's not as rare as Rocking Horse Poop. You can find him if you want to. And I think if you've got a big old Joe collection, you owe it to yourself to do that. Snake Eyes and Timber. Before his recruitment into the G.I. Joe team, Snake Eyes lived a life of strict seclusion and survival in the wilderness. During this time, he rescued and befriended the wolf Timber. The two formed a deep symbiotic bond based on mutual respect and survival. Timber often acts as an extension of Snake Eyes' stealth capabilities, providing silent reconnaissance, tracking, and backup during covert operations. Snake Eyes and Timber version 2, such a great iteration on the Snake Eyes costume. Of course, like everyone, I think Snake Eyes is kind of wicked. He's like the Wolverine of G.I. Joe, but his costume is not that exciting. I think the mask, yeah, it looks badass, but then the rest of it is just kind of a black suit. There's not much going on. So then with this set, we get to mix it up a little bit. He keeps all the coolest elements of his attire, but we get a little bit more color to it. That is really, really cool. And then he has a timber wolf on top of that. And considering that the wolf itself has all the articulation as well to really make it an interesting, not just accessory, but pretty much a two-pack, that's so great to see. So this, I feel, is not just the best version of Snake Eyes, but also just on the whole, a really great set. Zarana, an elite Cobra mercenary, master of disguise, and leader of the Dreadnought biker gang alongside her brothers Zartan and Xandar. Operating as an intricate method actress, she expertly uses sabotage, infiltration, and edged weapons to outwit both the G.I. Joe team and her Cobra associates. Zorana, you gotta love a good bad girl, and that's exactly who this is. Bright, colorful. Not just the pink shirt, but the shocking red hair as well, and the attitude on the face. That's what makes this one so good. Not just the aesthetics, but the look. That's what Hasbro, and particularly the G.I. Joe team, because Marvel Legends are good as well, but the G.I. Joe team, they're really great at capturing the expressions with some of these characters. And this is a great bad girl. Outback. Stuart R. Selkirk is the G.I. Joe team's resident survivalist. Raised in the harsh environment of Big Peony, Wyoming, he is a former instructor at the Army's Jungle Warfare Training Center. He is renowned for his ability to survive and improvise with the bare minimum of resources. Outback, what a great early G.I. Joe character. Came out within the first couple of years. They had pretty much found their stride by this point, and especially going for the Tiger Force look for this guy as well. And I was surprised that we got the Tiger Force version before the regular one, but also I didn't mind because he looks fantastic. And of course, the Tiger Force one has this brighter, more vibrant orange costume. So of course I'm going to want this one. And then everything he comes with, it works and fits so well with him. That's something I find so satisfying about the G.I. Joe characters, is that everything fits together. He's got slots and holsters and pockets and pouches. So he's got the torch that goes in his leg holster. He's got the gun, of course, that goes in the gun holster. He's got a shovel for burying poop that goes on his backpack. Everything fits together beautifully. The gun with the strap around can go over his arm. It's just great to put it all together like a game of Buckaroo. And you pop him on your shelf and he looks the business. Spirit. Charlie Ironknife is G.I. Joe's dedicated wilderness tracker and master of wildcraft. Raised in Taos, New Mexico, he is a highly skilled mystic warrior who relies on intense environmental training, an analytical mind, and a doctorate in psychology to outsmart Cobra forces. Spirit. This is one of those characters who really mixes up the look of the Joe team, going from full-on military people to someone who looks like he's wearing more kind of civilian gear, but still fits in with that army aesthetic. Works so great, really stands out on the shelf. And then, like all the characters, so many weapons as well, but ones that are specific to him. They work with the character of Spirit. And then, of course, he's got his eagle as well, which it was pointed out, arguably does look a bit more like a seagull than a classic eagle. But you know what? It's okay. It's still an animal companion. And considering the amount of animals we have on this list, we have a pretty incredible menagerie from the G.I. Joe Classifieds line. So it's great to add Spirit with the eagle as well. I forget its name. We'll call him Eagly too. But they make a great combination together. The Cobra Valkyries, an elite, specialized female unit of operatives and troopers within the Cobra unit. In the Skybound Entertainment G.I. Joe comic series, they are introduced by Cobra Commander as a deadly new strike force tasked with battling the G.I. Joe team. I think it says a lot about me that I seem to be a fan of bad girls. What can I say? The Cobra Valkyries, they kind of have a little piece of my heart. I think it's just great to have all of the variety in our forces. Sometimes in Cobra, it can just be looking around like, well, there's a lot of dudes around here, isn't there? But now we got the Valkyries, and that's wicked. Again, like any of the Cobra Troopers, you got all the different guns and weapons and accessories that you can play around with to army build and differentiate them from one another. But ultimately what it comes down to is a bad girl in a uniform. And yeah, I don't mind saying that that appeals. In fact, I'd even condone them putting it in a 2-pack because it just saves me having to make 2 individual purchases, of which I would be happy to do. Roadblock. Real name Marvin F. Hinton is the G.I. Joe team's primary heavy machine gunner and trained gourmet chef. Known for his incredible size and brawn, he wields an M2 Browning 50 caliber machine gun. He is celebrated in the franchise for his fierce loyalty, battlefield strength, and culinary skills. Tripwire, born Tomond S. Skog, is the explosive ordnance disposal specialist for the G.I. Joe team. Debuting in 1983 as a classic Real American Hero action figure, he is known for his signature metal detector, backpack, and landmines. Tiger Force was such a great extension to the G.I. Joe line because it was just taking what we had before and then just gussying them up a little bit. And it makes what are basic military characters that little bit more fun, that little bit more toyetic, that little bit more vavavoom on your shelf. You know that technical term. It's a little more vavavoom. I would say in this case about 13% so. So we got Roadblock and Tripwire here. And yeah, a couple of classic Joes, particularly with Roadblock as well, given a second lease of life with the Tiger Force paint jobs and some extra accessories to just make him look bit more fun, bit more interesting, bit more model behavior coded. So I really like this 2-pack. The Python Patrol Cobra Officer. The Python Patrol is a specialized Cobra subgroup established by Dr. Mindbender, featuring a unique pythonizing process that grants personnel and vehicles stealth and invisibility to radar. The Python Patrol Cobra Officer acts as an elite infantry leader, air traffic controller, and communications specialist for these invisible strike operations. The Python Patrol, just like Tiger Force, you've got your classic characters that get a second lease of life with a brighter, more fun, vibrant paint job. This officer here, it's part of the structure of the Cobra armies and the G.I. Joe armies that I really love, that unlike characters like, well, any superhero team really, X-Men, Avengers, there's no kind of hierarchy ranking. Well, you know, it's up to you. Does Superman outrank the Flash? Well, that's a debate for the playground, but obviously yes. But here with G.I. Joe and Cobra, we actually have a structured army with officers and generals and troopers and all this kind of stuff, which I really dig. My mind craves order because I'm so bad at making it myself. So when an action figure company does it for me, I got a lot of time for that. Then when they throw a Python Patrol paint scheme on there, yeah, I become a big fan. Firefly. Firefly is Cobra's elite mercenary saboteur and explosives expert. Known for his mysterious identity and flawless execution, he is paid exclusively in advance to Swiss bank accounts. Across various continuities, he shifts between a silent ninja-trained operative and a psychotic pyromaniac and high-tech terrorist. Firefly version 2, that's technically version 4, version 2 of Firefly. The original one is absolutely terrific. So it was a bit of a dealer's choice as to which one you want to have as your best Firefly. I think I would go for this one just because it's the more modern iteration. So he's going to have a few mod cons, a few quality of life improvements over the OG. But Firefly, just super fun with all the gadgets and gizmos. That's what I love to see. It's a single figure that just has a whole bunch of stuff packed in with him. And that is the thing with G.I. Joe Classified. You always get a lot of bang for your buck. And this is a perfect example of that. Cobra Troopers, the disposable, nameless foot soldiers of Cobra, a ruthless terrorist organization bent on world domination led by Cobra Commander. Recruited globally from the ranks of mercenaries and outlaws, they are armed with basic gear and fueled by sheer numbers and fanaticism to wreak havoc. In a franchise full of army builders, this is the ultimate army builder, the Cobra Trooper. Although it's not my favorite army builder, but this is the one that set the scene. One of the first releases for the classified line, and Hasbro knew exactly what they were doing. They were like, look, it's strength in numbers. Cobra, they're an overwhelming force. You're gonna need a bunch of troopers. And they were smart enough to give you so many different swap out parts that you really can army build such a distinctive looking force for your Cobra troops. And this, it's a basic figure now in, not in hindsight, but compared to modern action figures, it's like it's not that amazing. But really, if we're talking about the nucleus of the amazing G.I. Joe Classified's army building line, the Cobra Troopers is where it's at. They got us started with the removable helmets, guns, packs, pouches, everything. It's such a great base to build out the rest of your display. These guys are absolutely phenomenal. The Cobra Viper, kind of an extension of the classic Trooper. This is just a heavier dude. And of course, we get different versions as well. We have classic and we've got the Python Patrol as well. So different aesthetics to go for. But I love this so much because they took the classic Trooper and then just zhuzhed him up a little bit, made him a bit more heavily armored, some heavier weapons, just a bit more of a tanky kind of guy without being a super heavy bruiser. I love the aesthetic of this, and of course, with the brightly colored Python Patrol version, that's always going to be my favorite. Zartan, a master of disguise, mercenary, and leader of the Dreadnoks who serves the Cobra organization. Renowned for his ability to impersonate anyone, he is a primary antagonist for the G.I Joe team, orchestrating major deceptions and destabilization plots. The leader of the Dreadnoks himself, Zartan. This guy has a few different action figures, and I was really torn as to which one I like the most. I'm gonna have to go with the classic look for Zartan because I'm a student of the classics. But man, the punk rock looking one that just came out recently, oh, that's so much fun because once again, he looks like he just walked straight out of a 90s side-scrolling beat-em-up. Then you've got the one with the frozen gimmick where you can put him in the freezer and you got the color changing effect. It's a gimmick, but it's fun. And yeah, this guy, absolutely brilliant. And again, one of the earlier Joes that still holds up really well because they set such a high standard right out of the gate. So even all these years removed, the original Zartan, still brilliant. I even forgot he comes with the extra mask face in the case. Oh man, yeah, this dude, awesome. Barbecue. Gabriel Kelly is the G.I. Joe team's firefighter and hazardous materials expert. Hailing from a proud Boston firefighting family, he is equipped with advanced heat-resistant gear, a fire extinguisher, and a fire axe to tackle extreme thermal conditions and rescue civilians. One of my favorite figures that I bought when I was getting into collecting the Joes, Barbecue. As I've said before, I thought that he was a flamethrower dude until I read the lore and I was like, oh no, he puts out the fires. But you can understand my confusion. But yeah, there's just something about this guy that even now I still really love. Obviously, he's bright and colorful with the burnt orange. That looks great. But the mask, the very practical firefighting mask, still looks like mean and awesome and characterful. Then with the backpack, with the tank and the dials and everything, it's just cool. It's super, super fun. So even though we've had a whole bunch of Joes that have come out since then, this dude still stands up as one of my favorites. Major Blood. Sebastian Blood is a ruthless Australian mercenary and core field commander for the terrorist organization Cobra. Known for his signature eye patch, aggressive mustache, and mechanical arm, he operates strictly for money, boasting a brilliant mind for strategy, but a deeply two-dimensional, unhinged loyalty. Major Blood, another early G.I. Joe character. Yes, we've had some more iterations later. I'm going to kind of smoosh them together as well because the new versions of the character are just kind of improvements on the existing one. So I'll lump them into one entry here. Major Blood is a great classic bad guy. He's not like super bells and whistles, highfalutin, gimmicky. He's just a mean, bad mercenary. And that's what Hasbro captured in his facial features. And then all the other stuff that goes on with him, dog tags, helmet, guns, weapons, holsters, it all comes together to make one of those cool villains who's not a grunt, and not a super high up guy, but one of those real solid high tier middle bad guys who's going to give the heroes a big bad fight and ultimately be defeated before the big main battle. And honestly, I kind of love those guys, kind of like the Seekers in the Decepticons, I feel. They're not the tippy top, but they're not the bottom either. They're those solid mid-carders who do a lot of the hard work. The Alley Vipers, an elite Cobra urban combat specialists who serve as the organization's equivalent to a SWAT team or special forces. Renowned for their brutality and ruthlessness, these specialists are highly trained, heavily armed frontline troopers used for aggressive close quarters combat. the Alley Viper. Oh my goodness. I love so many of the Cobra army builders, and we're going to get to my favorites very soon, but these guys are so high on the list. The original Alley Viper in the orange and purple, that has my heart. But then you've got the other versions as well, especially the Crimson Alley Viper. That for me, I think is peak, but it's so difficult to choose which is the best one because they all just look so weird and bright, but badass as well. I love the lore of the original Alley Viper with the ridiculous neon colors, that they wear those because they want people to see them. Why? Because they're such badasses that they're like, yeah, we'll intimidate them just by the sight of us being here. That's wicked. It's like, why would I want to disguise myself? I'm not afraid of anything. But then you got these crimson ones who, that's the red and the black, man. The red and the black looks so good with the masks that can go up and down, the huge big riot shield, everything these guys come with. So badass. They deserve to be right up high on the list. They're not the best army builders though. We're going to get to those later. Shadow Tracker, a ruthless wilderness hunter and guide for the Cobra organization, introduced in the G.I Joe Pursuit of Cobra toy line. He is an expert tracker who uses primal instinct to stalk his prey, scorning conventional firearms and traditional weapons. What a wicked looking character, the Shadow Tracker, with so many different looks you can go for as well. I would be spoiled for choice. That would be a problem I would have if I bought this guy, would be, I don't know which one of these masks I want to go for because they all look so good. That's a happy problem to have. And yeah, I think, the bone, like feral predator looking one, that's super awesome, obviously, but then you've got the translucent green, and I'm not sure what's going on with it as far as the gimmick is concerned, but I don't care because it's a brilliant, badass, translucent green mask. So I kind of love it. Shadow Tracker, once again, a character that I wasn't familiar with at all until we got the action figure. And then as soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to learn about this guy because I want to know why he's so awesome. The Steel Corps Troopers, originally known as the Steel Brigade, are the nameless, faceless vanguard infantry and reconnaissance unit for the G.I Joe team. Tasked with frontline combat and global hotspot stability, these elite soldiers rapidly deploy to support named Joes in battles against the Cobra organization. Do you like stuff? Because you're going to get a whole bunch of stuff with these guys. The Steel Corps, what a wicked name, what a wicked concept. The Rocketeer, jetpacks, for the good guys as well. It's about time G.I. Joe get to level the playing field. Cobra have a lot of fun toys, is what I'm saying. Not just in the action figure variety, but in the lore of the show, just Cobra has the coolest stuff. It is what I feel anyway. So giving G.I. Joe some awesome jetpack jump troopers, yeah, you'll love to see it. And having a combination like this, where you got a wonderful army building potential with so much extra stuff you can throw on them, these are ones where, hey, two are good to have, but man, to have a whole fleet of these guys, it would look pretty cool. The Python Patrol Officer, an elite, hand-picked Cobra field leader who directs infantry, artillery, and air support. Their signature Pythonized uniforms utilize advanced technology to disrupt G.I. Joe radar and conceal them during dangerous infiltration and stealth missions. I won't linger too long on this guy because I would just be repeating myself. Like so many of the Cobra Troopers, just an amazing army builder. And once again, Python Patrol means that he's the same great figure, but with a brighter, more fun, popping color scheme. So of course I love it. All the stuff like the helmet and the guns, the weapons, the packs, the straps, all that stuff you can take on and off, play around with, individualize the character, and you're doing it with someone who's wearing a bright green Python reptile themed suit. You gotta love it. Crocmaster, a quirky and menacing Cobra reptile trainer in the G.I. Joe universe. Originally a smuggler who recognized the defensive capabilities of reptiles, he evolved into a misanthropic eco-terrorist and Cobra's chief swamp security expert, training alligators and crocodiles to hunt G.I. Joes. One of the big-time favorites for all G.I. Joe collectors, Crocmaster, coming with the croc as well. I think there was a little bit of debate, though, between some people saying, was this a crocodile or an alligator? Joey B, you can help me out. Let me know in the chat. But whatever this reptile is, I'm going to say a crocodile since he is Crocmaster. But yes. Like, take the design of Bane from Batman, but give him a reptilian makeover, and there you go. And don't get me wrong, I know Crocmaster precedes Bane, but that's just my frame of reference. This was one of those G.I. Joe figures that came out, and I think it was one of the first animal ones. My expression and eyebrows went very Billy Butcher there. I think it was one of the first ones, wasn't it? Yeah, I think Crocmaster was the first animal character, and that was what really opened my eyes to G.I. Joe. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. We get to build a zoo? Yeah, we do. I had Crocmaster for a while. He was a highlight of my collection. Eventually, I had to send him back to the Everglades, but I really enjoyed having him on the shelf because he does look fantastic. Range Vipers, specialized Cobra Wilderness Guerrilla Combat Troopers, the first introduced in the toy line in 1990. Known for their brutal survival skills and striking skull mask visage, they are entirely self-sufficient in the field, subsisting on vermin and foraging for supplies. A little double entry here with the Range Vipers and the Grim Vipers. Just when you think something couldn't look as cool as a skull mask with the brain exposed, they go and make the Grim Viper, which is just a more badass version of the OG. So if I was going to pick just one, then 1,000,000% dollars to donuts, going for the Grim Viper, because the Range Viper, even though he's fun, he looks a little too Saturday morning cartoony with the brighter colors, not as wickedly badass and awesome. And then Hasbro fixed that. They looked at it and went, we love the design, but we need to make him look meaner. Then in comes the Grim Viper with the darker colors, the gray, the more combat-looking gear. Absolutely dig that so much. This is something that might be my favorite Cobra Trooper, but the competition is so stiff. It's my favorite Cobra Trooper until I see the next one that I think is even cooler. But I tell you what, it will have to be pretty darn amazing to top Skull Mask with brain on top. That look, that whole look there, yeah, it just sings to me. Pythona, a deadly serpentine assassin and high-ranking emissary from the secret ancient Himalayan civilization of Cobra La. Introduced in G.I. Joe the movie in 1987, she infiltrates the Cobra Terror Dome to manipulate Serpentor, acting as the catalyst for the villain's alliance with her hidden race. You know, the further into this list I've gone, the more I've realized there are a lot of really good female characters in the Classifieds line. And Pythona, yeah, she's as bad as the bad girls get. And what a huge big set we got for her as well. That's what's so wonderful about a lot of these classified figures, is that they are just labors of love. The G.I. Joe team, I mean, my hat's off to you. That's the universal symbol for my hat being off, apparently. There you go. My hat's off to you. They did an incredible job with Pythona, giving her those Cobra La serpentine type features. And I will say, I'm not actually a big fan of the Cobra La lore. I like Cobra being a band of terrorists who are just bad guys from Earth. Once you bring in the whole alien Cobra La kind of thing, it gets a little bit Fatal Fluffy type territory for me. I like it to be a bit more grounded. But that being said, I wouldn't change a thing about this lady. Maybe in my headcanon, I'll say that she's just genetically engineered. But whatever the origin of her badass features, they do look wicked on this action figure. Professor Rotclaw. Crispin Kilgore is a Cobra mad scientist and mercenary who leads Cobra's Paleo Viper forces. He combines cutting-edge genetic research with paleontology to revive and train genetically engineered Cobra dinosaur Raptor packs to fight against the G.I. Joes. Rotclaw, man, he and his Raptor buddy, what a fun set this is. I love the design of Rotclaw himself, going for kind of an Outland, Wasteland, Mad Max kind of look to him, but of course still fitting with the Dreadnought Cobra type aesthetic, that kind of sort of punky, heavy metal kind of vibe. Digging it so much. And then throwing in his Raptor as well. Dinosaurs aren't enough. You gotta have some crazy armor and some bone stylings to go on top of it. It's just fun, man. That's what Hasbro have done so well with the G.I. Joe Classifieds line, is they've taken our Saturday morning cartoons and then just badassified them a little bit. And the great thing with Rocklaw also is because he's a genetic engineer splicing together genes and bringing dinosaurs back from extinction, it means that if you want to, you can go into the Hammond collection, get a whole bunch of dinosaurs and just make a giant dinosaur jamboree with him. I mean, that's just great fun. Snake Eyes and the Polar Bear from the Mass storyline. In The Mass Device, the 1983 5-part animated miniseries, the evil Cobra organization builds a matter transference weapon. To stop Cobra from using it to rule the world, the G.I. Joe team races to build their own device, battling Cobra across the globe to secure 3 rare catalytic elements. Now, this is an interesting 2-pack, or an interesting entry onto the list, because I have to admit, the Polar Bear is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. In fact, pretty much all of it. If Hasbro Classifieds team, if you make an animal, I'm going to include it on this list, because I think that they're great. They do a really, really good job with these. Snake Eyes is just another Snake Eyes with pink marigolds on his hands. Like, do you need another Snake Eyes? And if you do you need this version? I mean, if you're a big fan of the storyline, fair enough, but there are cooler Snake Eyes figures out there. But the Polar Bear, yeah, he gets an entry just for him alone. I think he looks fantastic. Darklon, a mercenary, privateer, and distant cousin of the Destro clan. Operating out of a cast iron castle in the Alps, he leads the Iron Grenadiers' private army. Completely unhindered by ethics, he is motivated purely by greed and hires his armies to the highest bidder. Darklon, man, what a wicked badass design. It's funny, there are a few characters that I would say have Predator type looks and aesthetics. Darklon, a little bit predatory, a little bit Darth Vader-y, and just any random 80s sci-fi villain helmet type look. It's just fun. It sings to me. But any one you want to go for when it comes to the mask is going to set off the rest of the body really nicely as well, because it's a fun, colorful camo sort of appearance. So this dude, he's one of the characters that I really wasn't that familiar with when I was getting into covering G.I. Joe. And that's half the fun of me covering these figures, is I get introduced to all these new characters who I didn't know anything about. Now I know Darklon. He's one of my favorites, because just look at him with an aesthetic and a look like that. How can you not love this guy? Blowtorch. Timothy P. Hanrahan is the G.I. Joe team's infantry special weapons specialist and a small arms armorer. Despite carrying heavy destructive military flamethrowers and incendiary devices, he is famously pyrophobic, also known as being nervous about fire. He obsessively checks fire exits and is highly trained in fire safety and survival. Blowtorch. I tell you what, this is the character who has the gimmick that I thought Barbecue had. Because when I first saw Barbecue, I was like, oh, he's a flamethrower guy. No, the complete opposite. He puts out the fires. So I guess he and Blowtorch, two ends of the spectrum right there. And Blowtorch, he's the more fun one. Who doesn't love the looks and the gimmick of a flamethrower dude? Whenever you're playing a first-person shooter, flamethrower is always the most fun weapon to have. Also, has anyone seen the movie Ballerina? It's an average action movie, but the end scene with the flamethrower battle, that's a whole lot of fun. And this figure, that's a whole lot of fun too. The Frag Viper, a specialized Cobra grenade thrower introduced in the G.I. Joe toy line in 1989. Designed as the ultimate blooper man, they launch high-explosive fragmentation grenades with extreme accuracy and speed using a servo-assisted automatic feed hurling basket based on the G.I Sestra. Now we're getting really fun with the Frag Vipers. I love the idea of a trooper who specializes in just one weapon. And that one weapon is kind of silly, but also really fun. What is the name of the sport where they have the tossing things? I don't know. Comment below and let me know. Help me out. Because I know that there is a sport where you have this big thing strapped to your arm and you use it to throw things, but I couldn't tell you what it is, but this guy, the fact that he's not just a cool-looking trooper, but also a terrifying android, I love that. Again, it's just riding that line of science fiction in G.I. Joe that I really dig. Cobra having an army of soulless androids that just walk into a battlefield and lob grenades at people. Yeah, that's really fun, as long as you're not on the other end of the battlefield. The Cobra Commander Battle Armor. Engineered by Destro's armament factory, this iconic silver and blue combat suit was created to get the commander into the thick of battle while providing enhanced protection and a menacing, high-tech aesthetic. Don't call it a comeback for Cobra Commander, but he came back. And he came back with some nice armor as well. And a cute little iguana. I don't know its name. I'm going to assume it's called Jub Jub. But a lot of people, once again, I love hearing the scuttlebutt from the community. When this guy was announced, well, actually, before he was announced, people were demanding that he get made. So I know that he was a big fan favorite. Whenever I see this kind of armor, I think like G.I. Joe, The Next Generation. Yeah, we have classic Cobra Commander. Then, of course, as what happened with most 80s toy franchises, they had to get reimagined, or at least like a little bit reinvigorated for the late 80s, early 90s. Happened with the New Adventures of He-Man, happened with Transformers Generation 2, and we got revamped versions of our G.I. Joes. And this armored version of Cobra Commander, it's not the most iconic one, but don't worry, because we're going to be seeing more of that later on this list too. Cold Slither. After a devastating raid by G.I. Joe, which wipes out Cobra's stolen wealth, Cobra Commander is broke. Desperate to regain power and finance his operations, Cobra Commander hires the mercenary Dreadnoks, Zartan, Torch, Ripper, and Buzzer to disguise themselves as a heavy metal rock band named Cold Slither. Working alongside Destro, they embed subliminal messages into the band's song lyrics and music videos to manipulate the public. Cold Slither, what a wonderful blast from the cartoon past, and done to perfection in this box set. I love that it's the Dreadnoks we already have, but in full-on glam metal gear. This is superb. I spoke before about a labor of love. That's what this is. This was for the fans. As AEW would say, this is for the sickos. And guess what? The sickos appreciated it. Not just the figures, but the whole box set. The presentation was top-notch, going for the whole concert venue format. Brilliant. Throwing in all the instruments, the drum kit, everything that comes in this set is just crying out for us to just look at and go, yes, this is what we wanted as kids, and now we've got it as adults, and that's even better because we're not dumb kids. We can appreciate how great they are and the work that's gone into them. And looking at this set, there's a whole lot of work that went into them. Slice and Dice, a notorious duo of Cobra-affiliated ninjas, acting as the muscle and enforcers for Cobra's ninja force. Slice relies on brute force swordsmanship modeled after scorpion attacks, while Dice uses lightning-fast bow staff and axe combat. Quite possibly my favorite G.I. Joe Classifieds 2-pack, Slice and Dice. First of all, great name. I really dig that. But just look at the amount of accessories you get with these guys. Now, I know that they are two individual specific characters, but considering how many masks and accoutrements you got, you could kind of army build these into all sorts of different samurai, ninja, goons, and henchmen, and all sorts of things, because you've got, looking down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different heads, or head sculpts or mask combinations that you can go for. Throwing in all the different weapons and the straps and the pouches and everything else, it's just a smorgasbord of G.I. Joe swap-outable part accessories that you can have so much fun with. Add to that the fact that they are so brightly colored, they're gonna pop off the shelf. This is taking a ninja character, which honestly isn't that exciting, but then turning it into something that is so bright, colorful, and Saturday morning cartoonish. I absolutely love this. Crystal Ball, an eccentric and mystical Cobra hypnotist in the G.I. Joe universe. Born to a Romanian father with second sight and an American mother from Maine, he leverages his supposed seventh son of a seventh son abilities to read minds, induce hypnosis, and interrogate captured Joes without torture. Crystal Ball. This is where the G.I. Joe franchise gets a little bit kind of ooky spooky mystical, and I'm kind of okay with it. You know, I get very funny with drawing the line of realism with G.I. Joe. Not a big fan of the Cobra La alien kind of side of things, but with the whole mystical kind of mind control, oogly boogly stuff, yeah, I'm kind of here for that. I kind of dig it, mainly because Crystal Ball is just such a fun-looking character that I see the aesthetics of all the accessories he has and what he can do to the other characters to, like, amplify them. And I'm like, you know what? I'll allow it because it looks wicked. So Crystal Ball's so much fun. You take away all of his translucent, gorgeous accessories, you still have a really fun-looking figure with like the little eye makeup, the gray salt and pepper in the hair. Looks a little bit like the comedian from Watchmen, but he's his own thing as well with the nice fluffy jacket and all that kind of jazz. He opens up a whole bunch of new possibilities as far as action figures go for the Cobra side of things, because just like the Dreadnoks opening up all the Dreadnok stuff, you've got Crystal Ball here opening up all of his oogly boogly stuff. And for the sake of some wicked action figures, I'll absolutely allow it. The Desert Scorpion. A specialized Cobra Trooper originally introduced in 1991, these troops are undermotivated or insubordinate Cobra Vipers who are punished by being sent to live and train in the desert, mimicking the attack patterns of venomous scorpions. The Desert Scorpion with Scorpion. This, oh boy, I don't even know if I have to do an entry for this one, because just what can I tell you that you can't see for yourself by just looking at it? This is great. This is so much fun. Having the giant mutant scorpion itself, that is awesome. The scorpion itself, of course, is fully articulated as well. It could have just been a solid dog toy type of, block of plastic. But they weren't going to go that route. They're like, if we're going to do a giant mutant scorpion, we're going to do it right. And they did. And the detail of the paintwork and all the sculpting there, it's not smooth. It's got the armored sort of texture of a scorpion. Genuinely, kind of gives me the goo-goo jeebies a little bit. One thing I would have liked a little bit more with the human character is if we had a slightly mutated face, because he's got kind of a normal looking face, but I do like the lore that the desert scorpions have been genetically engineered to survive better in the desert, kind of like the Hydroviper. You can't see his full face, but you can just see like it's a little bit inhuman. I would have dug that, but you know what? I will allow it because the mask he comes with looks wicked. So you know what? I'll give him a pass, but the whole set together, absolutely fantastic. Dr. Mindbender, Cobra's chief science and interrogation officer. Originally a pacifist orthodontist, a brainwave machine accident warped his mind into a hateful, deceitful genius. He is famous for creating the B.A.T.s, Battle Android Troopers, and cloning the ultimate Cobra leader, Serpentor. Dr. Mindbender. What a fantastic, great, classic bad guy. I mean, if you had a list, like Guess Who, of all the ultimate bad guy supervillain tropes, this dude has them. A monocle, check. A twirly mustache, right there. Bald head, a cape, S&M gear. Yeah, what the heck? Throw it all in there. And we get Dr. Mindbender, one of the best good bad guys. When you look at the Cobra hierarchy structure, I mean, you got Serpentor, Cobra Commander, Pythona, Destro, all these, like, it's such a great selection of bad guys. And that's before you even get to the Troopers. Man, it's such a good franchise. This video has taught me why I love the G.I. Joe line so much. They're just wonderful. And looking at this guy, so much fun. Utterly ridiculous, but also totally brilliant. The Snake Armor. System neutralizer armed cloaking equipment. A heavy-duty one-man battle suit developed by Destro for Cobra forces. First introduced in 1983 as a classic plastic shell toy, the suit provides Cobra Troopers with enhanced armor plating, toxic resistance, and interchangeable heavy weaponry. of course, this had to come in way up close to the top spot, the snake armor. Now, one thing I've got to make clear, actually, while I'm thinking about it, there's going to be a couple of honorable mentions, I suppose, because we do have the HasLabs. We got the awesome vehicles, but I chose not to include them because they are kind of an element unto themselves. You can't really compare the Hiss tank to a regular standalone 6-inch action figure, or at least I've chosen not to. But this is just close enough that I will allow it for my regular list. The snake armor, so much fun because you can open it up and actually put people inside, which makes it so dynamic. I really dig it. So many cool photos have been taken that I've seen online of characters with like a whole army of these guys and Cobra Troopers stepping in and out of them. I love all the details inside the armor as well. Absolutely fantastic stuff from Hasbro. Really great. And I had a pre-order for one, but I canceled it because I canceled all my G.I. Joes basically because I decided I can't keep doing this because everything they make, I want to army build. I'm going to army build my way into the poorhouse. So this was where I had to draw the line. I was like, nope, I got to get out. But dang it, these did look great. Bushido, a G.I. Joe ninja commando and also snow ninja who was first introduced to the toy line in 1993. Born Lloyd S. Goldfine in Queens, New York, he is a cold weather specialist who traveled to Iceland to train in freezing temperatures to heighten his discipline and battlefield awareness. Bushido, just like Slice and Dice, they're taking a historical, classic kind of armor, but then cartoonifying it, making it a bit brighter, a bit bolder, a bit more extravagant, and just more fun to have on your shelf. To be honest, though, I mean, samurai armor doesn't really need emboldening all that much. It looks badass anyway. But then the Hasbro team took a look at it. Well, actually, I say Hasbro. Well, it was Hasbro back in the day as well. The G.I. Joe team, if you will. They took a look at it and went, okay, let's just cartoonify this a little bit, make it a bit more popping, bit more fun. Boom, there it is. And Bushido, he looks terrific. Destro and his Despoiler. Tired of Cobra Commander's chaotic and unpredictable ambition, the weapons master Destro breaks away to conquer nations under his own rule. To lead his Iron Grenadiers on the battlefield, he utilizes the Despoiler, an agile and vicious vertical takeoff aircraft. In classic G.I. Joe lore, the Despoiler made its most notable appearance in the Marvel Comics series, issue number 87. Iron Grenadier Destro with the Despoiler. First of all, great name for a vehicle. The Despoiler. Love that. And then Destro with the gold and the Grenadier style armor. Oh, well, armor, costume, uniform, whatever you want to call it. You can call it what you will. Call it a badass look. While putting this list together, one thing I started to think to myself was, okay, Dave, you're out of the G.I. Joe game. You're not collecting as a whole anymore. But maybe the Grenadiers, maybe just the Iron Grenadiers, because those guys with the gold and the black and the red, like just such an aesthetically cool bunch of characters, and there's not that many either. So bottom line, yes, I am thinking about just collecting the Iron Grenadiers, because of all the sub-factions, oh man, they're my second favorite, because I love the Dreadnoks too. That's the problem with G.I. Joe. It's a slippery slope, and once you're out, you need to stay out, because if you dip your toe back in, it's going to get expensive real quick. But I could just get the Grenadiers. The Firemen, just like the Policemen, these guys are going way up at the top for just about every reason. First of all, as an action figure, it's beautifully made. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The amount of accessories is just bonkers. Absolutely crazy. I was so happy that I could pick this one up because he's got so much stuff. The whole point of these is, of course, you could army build them, and you can do that so effectively with the two different, very unique head sculpts. You got the mask, the gas mask as well, the fireman's hat, and then all of the equipment that they've got. It's just phenomenal. And yeah, an absolute labor of love. I got to try and stop myself from saying that phrase too much, but this you could see. The G.I. Joe team clearly had a reverence for the source material, that being real life heroes. And if I was a fireman, I'd see this and be like, lads, you're done good. This one, such a fun figure to pose with any display. I mean, not McFarlane figures, obviously. That wouldn't work. Bring on Mattel and their properly good lord scale DC figures. But your Marvel Legends, you can have Spider-Man rescuing a firefighter. You can have all these civilians around. It's just a great addition to have to any action figure display. And they did it so well. Double thumbs up for this. Law and Order. A 2-member G.I. Joe unit consisting of military police officer Christopher Law Levine and his loyal German shepherd, Order. Introduced in 1987, Law handles security and base policing, while Order is a trained attack dog and also expert in bomb and drug sniffing. Law and Order. One man and his dog. I just kind of love it. I'm going to have a soft spot. If it's a character with a doggy, then you better believe that it's going to be model behavior approved. And these two, they both look great as far as just action figures go. And it's all about the accessories. I love that you have all the armor for the Alsatian as well. I say Alsatian, German Shepherd. Apparently they changed the name from German Shepherd to Alsatian during the Second World War. And now I think enough time has passed that people are like, you know what, a German Shepherd's fine. We like the Germans, we're cool. At least that's what I was told. Stop me if I'm wrong. But anyway, whatever you want to call the dog, it's definitely a good boy. And I love that he has all the body armor. It just looks fantastic. And then the human character as well. Great work. All the accessories, the armor, just the look overall, the aesthetic. They make a great pair. I'm really fond of this set. Cobra Commander. The supreme megalomaniacal leader of the ruthless terrorist organization Cobra and the archenemy of the G.I. Joe team. Driven by a desire for global domination, he controls a massive army of fanatical soldiers, utilizing advanced technology, bioweapons, and psychological warfare. Now, I did say at the start of this list I was going to include characters that haven't been released yet, and pretty much the main reason I wanted to do that was because I wanted to include Cobra Commander with his throne, because I dare say this is probably the ultimate version of Cobra Commander, and we have had so many different versions, from classic to modern to armored to retro to like the His Tank version, all these different ones, but this is the look with the hood that people have been asking for since the inception of this line. Well, we finally got it, or we're about to get it. And he comes with this huge big throne as well, which just ties the whole collection together. And the extra nice thing is, with this Cobra Commander, yes, he's got the crown and all those extra bits, but you can take those off and just have a basic Cobra Commander with the hood. Or I would imagine you can probably take the hooded head and put that on a different Cobra Commander body. I'm assuming they're going to be interchangeable, because if they're not, you're missing a trick, Hasbro. But then again, I probably wouldn't want to mix anything up, because all of this together just looks like the ultimate version of Cobra's ultimate bad guy. The Iron Grenadiers, a private mercenary army founded and maintained by the notorious arms dealer Destro. Unlike standard Cobra Troopers, they are highly motivated stakeholders in Destro's weapons business, actively fighting in black and gold armor to create conflicts and drive up the demand for arms sales. The Iron Grenadier. This aesthetic, I think, is just so wicked. I love the Iron Grenadiers, and it's something that I didn't know about. I didn't know about the subsections within Cobra and Destro's own personal guard and the infighting and all that kind of thing. It was all something I got to pick up and learn about through the action figures. That's a fun bit of learning right there. And these guys, I love the sort of, I don't know my military history, but they look kind of German, like early 20th century kind of look to them. But of course, then with a modern sci-fi kind of take. It's just wicked with all the gold accoutrements and the red flashes. It's a wicked look, and they just pull it off real nicely. So those are my two kind of favorite factions, I'd say, the Dreadnoks and the Iron Grenadiers. And luckily, there's not too many of the Grenadiers, so if I was going to collect any of them, it would have to be these guys. Metalhead, a psychotic anti-tank specialist for Destro's personal army, the Iron Grenadiers. Operating as a one-man walking weapons platform, he uses brain-integrated cybernetics to lock onto and fire high-explosive missiles simply by making visual contact with a target and yelling, "Bang!" One of my absolute favorite bad guys from the Cobra ranks. Metalhead is a figure that has so much stuff. It's amazing that the character himself can even move on the battlefield because he's got to be weighed down by just everything that's coming off of him. This Swiss Army knife of a munitions factory. I love it. As soon as I saw the videos of the figure with every single gun out and all of the blast effects and the muzzle flashes, everything coming off of him just makes him so much fun to have on the shelf. This is a real dynamic figure. And then the actual person, the character inside all the chaos, looks really fun. He's got a great, mean, bad guy mug on him. Got the scars of war and just a gnarly looking character with all the extra stuff he comes with. There's a lot to love on him. Mutt, real name Stanley R. Perlmutter, is the G.I. Joe team's resident animal expert and canine handler. He is notoriously antisocial around humans, but shares an unbreakable bond with Junkyard, his fiercely loyal pet Rottweiler. The two act as a single unit, communicating without words. You know, just like Law and Order, Mutt and Junkyard, one man and his dog. Of course, I'm going to absolutely love this set. And it's another labor of love from a company that clearly is full of dog lovers who want to give our four-legged friends the best representation they can do. I love that the dog has two very, very distinct heads. So, of course, he has the grr, grr, come on to get you kind of look. But also, I don't always want that on a doggy because I want it to show that even these more intimidating breeds of dogs are also just really good boys, and he's got an adorable head sculpt to go with him as well. So that combined makes a fantastic dog figure, and we're not even talking about the human character, who looks terrific with the big old cookie duster on his face. He's got a lot of character as well, but he's kind of a basic army dude. He's a very well-made army dude with a lot of nice accessories, but he's an army dude nonetheless. But you put him with the dog and together as a pet set. Yeah, there you go. Together as a pet set, they set the best ret for all the pet. Ah, it's poetry. Rawhide, a notorious poacher and member of the Dreadnought biker gang in the G.I. Joe universe. Known for his stench, he uses foul tactics like coating himself in rancid hog fat to mask his human scent from wildlife. He hunts alongside his pet warthog, Porkbelly, and macaque monkey, Yobbo. Rawhide, along with his menagerie of animals. This is just wonderful. Talk about going all in. This is going all in by Hasbro. It's not just the man, it's the animals, it's the pets. We've got an entire zoo just with this one set, and none of the accessories, none of the extra animals have been given short shrift. At no point were Hasbro like, we'll just paint a plastic thing and throw it in. It'll count. No. They went all in, just like with the Scorpion, with the Desert Scorpion, just like with anything. They go all in. It's not just an accessory, it's a featured piece. And that's what we've got here. Porkbelly, so much fun with this character. Yobbo, great stuff. And then, of course, the actual character himself, Rawhide, looking so just characterful. That's a good thing about characters. They do tend to look characterful, Dave. Throw all these in together, and once again, I look at it and go, man, I really want to buy the Dreadnoughts, but they ain't cheap. You got to pay for all these things, granted, but it makes me think, like, could you imagine if Marvel Legends wanted to go all in with a Kraven box set and gave us some animals for Kraven to, be sicking after Spider-Man? That would be so good. But you know what? Marvel Legends don't do that. G.I. Joe Classifieds, they do though, and that's why this guy is so high on the list. Nemesis Enforcer, an elite, monstrous biomechanical enforcer created by Globulus to serve the ancient subterranean society of Cobra La. A terrifying, nearly voiceless beast, he relies on flight, immense strength, and razor-sharp forearm spikes to overpower enemies and execute his master's sinister will. Whether you want to call him Nemesis Enforcer or Nemesis Immortal in the case of this action figure, he is one of the biggest big bad guys in the Cobra army, and Hasbro did a fantastic job with this dude. I love the character. I love the name. I love the look. Nemesis Enforcer. That is just, there's an aura to a name like that. Arn Anderson, I think, was the first one to make the name The Enforcer really mean something. This dude took that ball and ran with it. And this is, of course, on that Cobra La borderline for what I do and don't like. Yes, he is a very fantastical, ridiculous, over-the-top alien snake man type character. But you know what? I can't help but love it. Because just giving him the old eyeball test, he looks amazing on the shelf. Give yourself a huge, big brute of a character like this, and then throw on giant wings as well. Absolutely wonderful. It kind of annoys me that he got jobbed out to Sergeant Slaughter in the animated movie, but you know what? I'll allow it, because if we cast that from our minds, we have one of the best big men in the business. We're using all the pro wrestling terms here. The Cobra La Royal Guard, genetically engineered mutant super soldiers first appearing in the G.I Joe animated movie, serving as the fanatical protectors of the Cobra La leadership, most notably Globulus. They feature terrifying organic insect-like armor and possess near superhuman strength and combat skill. The Cobra La Royal Guard. This thing is a beautiful army builder in a line that is resplendent with army builders. This guy stands above not all of them, but a lot of them. Really, it's the personalization. It's the individuality that you can put to so many different ones. That there's still a word that is escaping my brain. The customization, I guess, with the different heads and the helmets and the armor pieces, you can play around with this in so many weird and wonderful ways. One thing I did find when I had the figure in hand, he could really benefit from a little bit of a wash. Some of the bones and the armor, it looks a little bit plain and plasticky, but I will forego that. I will allow it, because there's so much good stuff here. Beautiful metallic paint as well, the wonderful translucent waspy wings, and just the wicked alien looking armor. Yep, it's the weird Cobra La side of things, but once again, even though I don't like the lore, I love the aesthetics. And these guys, they score real high on the aesthetics. The I Was Once a Man Cobra Commander. In the famous Once a Man storyline from the G.I Joe movie, a usurper named Serpentor takes control of Cobra, putting Cobra Commander on trial for incompetence. Sentenced by the secret civilization of Cobra La, the commander is exposed to mutating spores that cause him to slowly devolve and mutate into a snake. I was once a man. Cobra Commander is getting a lot of love on this list, but rightly so. He's the main bad guy of Cobra, not necessarily in the hierarchy, but he's the face of Cobra, which is ironic considering that we so rarely ever see his face. But I still remember getting the goo-goo-jeebies as a kid watching the scene in the movie where he's like, "Not the spores!" And you can see why when it turns him into this and then that. I do love that they have the whole transition of man to snake man to little snake all in one box set. That's wonderful. And once again, this is one of those deep cut figures for the children who grew up in the 80s watching G.I Joe. It's a love letter to the original franchise, and Hasbro pulled it off beautifully. The B.A.T.s. Battle Android Troopers, robotic Cobra infantry created by Dr. Mindbender and Scrap Iron. Designed as mindless, disposable cannon fodder, these machines require no pay, never complain, and never retreat. They advance relentlessly on the battlefield, functioning effectively as walking weapon platforms with interchangeable arms. So, in a line of figures that specializes in army builders, the ultimate army builder, I think, has got to be the B.A.T.s. And it absolutely was impossible to decide what version of the B.A.T I could have on this list. If I was going to have one entry for each different version, honestly, I would do. But there's about 5 or 6 or maybe 7 different types of B.A.T.s. That would take up a lot of spots on this list. So I'm going to smoosh them all together because they're all just so wonderful. The ultimate army builder, even the most basic of B.A.T, comes with what? 2 different heads, 2 different chest panels, the backpack with like 4 or 5 interchangeable arms. It's just so much stuff. And considering that just with the 2 chest panels, that gives you 3 different looks because you got the plain, the damaged, and then nothing at all. And then so many interchangeable different options. The ultimate army builder. Then you can throw in the winter version. You've got the Iron Grenadier version. There's so many. I love it. So this spot goes to all the B.A.T.s, because guess what? I love them all. But if I had to choose one, I'll admit, I think the Iron Grenadier version, again, with the black, red, and gold color scheme and the alternate head that has kind of the circular lens in the middle, that's a real nice look. I think out of all of them, that's probably my favorite. Mole Rats. In the G.I. Joe universe, the Mole Rats are expendable, low-level recruits and scientific cannon fodder for the Cobra organization. Tasked with deep underground mining, their primary objective is to extract volatile dark energon to power Cobra's war machine. Right up near the top spot, one of my all-time favorite figures, the Mole Rats. And I'm going to cheat here. I got Mole Rat and Mole Rat 2 because it's Sophie's choice. I can't choose between them. First of all, it's a zombie type of character, which is always going to have a little bit of my heart. But how gnarly Hasbro went with these designs, they weren't holding back. They were like, you know what, if we're going to do zombies, let's freaking do them. And not only that, but they've got the gas mask as well, which is naturally freaky thanks to horror movies. Gas masks, hockey masks, you see those and you go, those are not used for their intended purposes. Those are used to murder teenagers because that's what we're accustomed to. So seeing a dude in a miner's mask, that's freaky. Then when he takes it off and it's a crystal zombie, not to mention the fact that those crystals a dark energon. I love that we're living in a shared G.I. Joe Transformers universe, and this is a lovely little subtle crossover that can attest to that. So I think aesthetically, the original Mole Rat is my favorite because of the more realistic looking costume, looks creepier. But then the version 2 with the total splayed out crystal head, oh man, that's amazing. And these you could army build the bejesus out of. So with that being the case, yeah, these guys are a couple of my favorites. Serpentor, the genetically engineered megalomaniacal emperor of the Cobra terrorist organization. Created by Dr. Mindbender, he is a composite clone made of the DNA of history's most ruthless conquerors, including Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Genghis Khan, and Attila the Hun. The penultimate entry for this list, Serpentor on his throne. I love the look of this dude. When I was first introduced to him in the 80s movie, I was like, okay, this is what I'm talking about. Because I was never a big Cobra Commander fan because I like my bad guys to be competent. Cobra Commander was always a bit of that kind of bumbling Starscream type of character. We needed the Megatron. This guy is more like the Megatron scary bad guy. And I love the lore that he was a genetically created being out of like all the DNA of the worst people of history. The original Abradolf Linkler, if you will. Not that Abraham Lincoln was a bad person, but Rick and Morty reference. Anyway, love the lore for Serpentor, even though it does open the door to Cobra La and the more weird and wacky villains. He sits right on that perfect line of like awesome, larger-than-life, ridiculous comic book bad guy that's still kind of believable in my military G.I. Joe setting. So even though with his chariot, this was a real expensive set, man, it looked amazing.
Oh no! Our house is on fire! Quick, we have to get out! Wait a minute! The door is locked! We're trapped!
That's right, I trapped you! Because you haven't joined up to become Model Behavior channel members!
We're sorry, Barbecue. If you help us escape, we promise to join the channel members section.
Alright, come on, you little rascals, get out here.
Well, Barbecue, thanks for rescuing us.
That's alright. And now you're YouTube channel members, so I'm not gonna have to burn your freaking house down.
Yay!
Alright, I gotta go. There's a lot of people who aren't channel members. I'm gonna burn their houses down.
Thanks, Barbecue. Now we know to be channel members.
And knowing is half the battle.
Road Pig, an incredibly obnoxious, violent, and hulking member of Cobra's Dreadnought gang. First introduced to the action figure line in 1988, he is easily recognizable for his spiked hair, bare chest, anarchy tattoo, and signature weapon, a cinder block attached to the end of a piece of rebar. My personal favorite G.I. Joe character, it's Road Pig. Now, I know that this is not the most important G.I. Joe character, not by a long shot, and there are arguments to be had for just about anyone to be in the top spot, especially the ones who were on the top spots prior to getting to this guy here. But ultimately what it comes down to is one man and his dog who has so much character. Yes, you've got Serpentor with his chariot that is incredible looking. You've got the soon to be released Cobra Commander with his throne. Iconic characters. But this guy is just so much fun and has so much appeal to all the things that I love. Mostly the fact that he's just a great generic bruiser who comes with this wonderful dog as well. The two of them together just make such a great pair. And as I've said about so many Dreadnoughts, you could throw this dude into any display. And he's going to be a fantastic, heavy bruiser street thug. Throughout all my decades of playing video games, from Streets of Rage to Final Fight to Batman Arkham City, I just have that mindset for the big bruiser type character. The one who you're going to have to stun before you attack. You're going to have to slide between his legs before jumping on his back. That's who this guy is, with the full-on resplendent Road Warrior Mad Max type gear, the LOD shoulder pads, and then the mask. Dude, the unmasked head, fantastic. Love it. So much character. But then the kind of pig mask straight out of a Hostel movie, absolutely phenomenal. And of course, the breeze block mallet, wonderful stuff. And once again, just to throw in, he's got the doggy with him, which is just so cute. I don't care if he's a pet of the bad guys. You look at this fella, such a good boy. And for that, the whole set together, easily my model behavior #1 Joe. Or Cobra, Dreadnought, whatever. I'm not redoing this. And that does it for my top 100 favorite G.I. Joe action figures. But guys, what do you think? Which characters did I not include that deserve to be on the list? And also, which characters are on there that had no business being there? Comment below and let me know. But thank you so much for watching this. This has been an absolute blast to put together. And if you want to have your hand in making these videos, then if you get yourself a channel membership, then you can take part in the channel member exclusive live streams where we put these lists together, hash them all out, and you can have your say and convince me to put different characters in different places because I am the highly suggestible type. So that does it for this video. If you enjoyed it, a thumbs up would really help out the channel. So remember, yo Joe, knowing is half the battle, and keep displaying model behavior.